jet lag, foreign groceries, no sleep, and a third grader wide awake at 2 a.m. Sounds fun? I didn't think so either. But this is exactly the situation I'm getting myself into voluntarily. And I would like to share how I'm planning to stay sane and somewhat healthy while doing this. Hi, I'm Tamara, certified master health coach, personal trainer, and a fitness nutritionist. I help busy adults who have way too many things on their plates to have energy and resources to do what matters most. I love to travel, and I generally value experiences over possessions. Unfortunately, I'm not a frequent flyer yet, and I don't have all the tricks, although I admire those who do. So today's video is not about flying cheap and packing light. It's more about saving your sanity, health, and your precious routines while everything around you changes. Let's get into it. In just a couple of days, I'm heading out on an international trip with my third grader. And even though I'm super excited about it, it's going to be 24 hours en route and 11 hours time difference. And of course, none of my regular anchors will be there. No gym, no kitchen, different food, different rhythms, and, a whole lot of unpredictability. So my goal is not to stick to some kind of a very rigid routine, but to maintain what really matters. I will do my best to preserve the habits that support me and my identity, be flexible enough to adjust, and maybe, if I'm lucky, to even rewrite some of my habits that I'm not super happy about. Let's break it down. As much as I would like to preserve my routines perfectly intact, I'll have to be realistic. Too much stuff is outside of my control, so I will focus on 3 main areas that are the very basic pillars of my health that I value the most. It's sleep, movement, and nutrition. My first mission is to not spend my first week of vacation walking around like a freaking zombie, jet-lagged and miserable. And there are a couple of tricks that I learned on how to adjust your sleep schedule so the jet lag is a little bit easier. The recommendation for battling the jet lag is to gradually adjusting your schedule while you're still at home. Ideally, you want to shift it 1 hour a day. So if, for example, you're traveling somewhere with 3 hours difference, you will need 3 days to prepare. Unfortunately, I have 11 hours to adjust, and it means that I have to completely flip day and night, which is not realistic. So I'm not shooting for perfection. I'm trying to do what I can. While on a plane, I will try to imitate the destination time frame. So I will be awake when it's daytime there and try to sleep or rest when it's nighttime. Melatonin is a solution, but before trying it, I would strongly recommend to consult with your doctor because any supplements have side effects and you want to know about them. We arrive in the late evening, which is great because we will be able to just go straight to bed after the airport. If you arrive to your destination earlier in a day, the recommendation is to try to stay awake until the desirable bedtime. The quality of your sleep is determined by the work of 2 systems. First is circadian rhythms, also known as biological clock. And the second is sleep pressure. The longer you stay awake, the more sleep pressure you accumulate, and the more readily you will fall asleep when you finally hit the pillow. So if you want to sleep through the night, you want to accumulate enough sleep pressure to fall asleep quickly and easily. So even though we have a layover and I will try to use it to rest and stretch, the goal is to crash when we arrive. When I arrive to my parents' house, I will set up my sleeping space and I will dedicate it specifically for sleep. So no entertainment center, no working from bed. I will train my brain to recognize this space as a place to sleep. So the moment I see the bed and hit the pillow, the brain will be, oh, okay, we sleep there. Let's do it. I will aim to wake up at the same time every day. It's a general recommendation for good sleep hygiene for everybody. I don't know if you know about that, but sleeping in on weekends, it's actually called a social jet lag. So we are willingly putting our body into the situation of real jet lag every weekend. So my goal on the trip is to figure out the time when I want to wake up and follow the schedule. However, if it happens that I stay too late with my friends and won't be able to get 8 hours of sleep or 8.5 hours of sleep that I typically need to fully function, the recommendations for naps are the following. If you lose less than 4 hours of sleep per night, do nothing. One sleepless night is not ideal, but okay. But if I lose more than 4 hours of sleep, I will take a nap, and the recommendation is for the nap to be half as long as the time you lost. So, for example, if you lost 4 hours of sleep, take a 2-hour nap. If you lost 6 hours of sleep, take a 3-hour nap, but never more than 4 hours in total, because otherwise you will screw the next night. This is my plan to get enough sleep. Let's think about movement. Daily-ish movement is my non-negotiable, something that I'm trying to cultivate as an identity of someone who exercises regularly and moves a lot. So even though I'm not going to have access to all my regular stuff, my gym, my climbing gym, my running trails or whatnot, I will still try to find opportunities to squeeze some activities into the day. I started collecting and creating a bucket list of options. So every day, depending on the circumstances and plans we have, I can pick and choose what I can do. For example, I will definitely set up a time block in the morning because this block is something that I have control over. Everything else, well, who knows? But one of the good options for me to stay active and still meet all my friends is to move our meetings from nice cafes onto the trails to walk and talk. I love doing that, and it's a win-win. I will move more, I will probably eat less, and I will have time with my friends and family while being active. I think it's super important to not push yourself too hard when you are traveling, but finding opportunities to squeeze more movement into your day can be fun. So the last but not least on my list of important things is food. And this one's tricky. First of all, because I had an eating disorder and I generally have issues with food, still struggling with that. But second is because I'm going home, like home, to people I didn't see for 8 years. And the culture of my home is very food-centered. All the gatherings and celebrations used to happen around the table. So it's going to be quite tricky to avoid over-consuming food when you constantly meet friends at cafes, restaurants, or at home. So here's my plan. First of all, I will remember that the main goal of my trip is to meet the people. It's going to be the food for soul. I do accept that food is love. Food is reunion. Food is very communal and primal for us humans. That's how we evolved around the table, sharing the meals. But I also want to feel good in my body, and I don't want to disrespect my body in some way by stuffing it with things that don't serve me. So on the plane, I will go really light because, 25 hours sitting on my butt, I really don't need that much energy, but I will need hydration. So I will focus on hydration and light meals to just support my basic metabolism. When I arrive, I will maximize seasonal produce because it's going to be so good at this time of year, summer. So I will allow room for nostalgic foods that I miss and plan all my other meals around them. Because you know what? Creating a forbidden fruit is never good. So nothing is going to be off limits, just moderation. At restaurants, I will just slow down, focus more on conversation than on the food, and check in with my body. And I will suggest my friends some other activities besides meeting at cafes, maybe walks, or going climbing with me, or hitting some parks, or just sitting someplace nice. I realize that no plan survives the contact with reality. So next week, I will check in and let you know what's working and what's not working and how I'm adjusting. And in the meantime, if you are planning a trip or just trying to keep your routine steady when life is a little chaotic, drop the comment below and let me know what helps you or what completely derails you. I'd love to hear your stories. If you want to know where I succeeded and where I completely failed, subscribe to not miss the next episode. And if you're ready to build some habits but struggle with it, well, you know where to find me. See you next week from a different place. Bye.